Welcome to the Essential Alchemy Podcast with your host, Jodi Cohen.
Hi, I'm your host, Jodi Cohen, and I'm so excited to be joined by one of my favorite people who is a wealth of knowledge on all things thyroid, Dr. Amie Hornaman. She's also known as the Thyroid Fixer. She's an author and international speaker and the host of the top-ranked medical podcast, The Thyroid Fixer. She founded the Better Thyroid and Hormone Institute, delivering personalized thyroid and hormone healthcare across the US and Canada, and created the Fixer supplement line with formulas which target the issues she saw her patients struggle with, such as weight loss, fatigue, low libido, and hormone imbalances. And we're going to get into all of it. Welcome, Dr. Amie.
Thank you so much, Jodi. I'm happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you what was your journey that got you to focus on the thyroid?
Oh, girl, most of us go through something that brings us into this world, right? So, no different here. So I was in my 20s and I was actually doing competitions in kind of the bodybuilding realm, fitness figure competitions. And I'd done plenty of them, got my body fat down to low percent, working out, eating the chicken, broccoli, asparagus, all of that. So I had done that many times. But this one show I was getting ready for, instead of losing weight, I was gaining weight. Like literally the scale just kept going up. And I mean up like 25 plus pounds. So at that point, my coach is blaming me. He's thinking I'm off my diet. I'm getting frustrated, depressed. I'm wearing sweatshirts at the gym. I hear the judgment. I was all the things, like every emotion you could possibly think of. I was frustrated. I was depressed. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I did the whole self-blame game. Like, oh, maybe it's me. I'm not eating low enough calories. Maybe I should work out 3 times a day. But I went to the doctor because I knew like something's wrong with my body. It's almost like my body's rebelling against me. So went to my family doctor because we all start there. And I was told, oh no, you're normal. It's all fine. It's good. And thank God I didn't stop there. I went for the second opinion and then I ended up going for the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth opinion. All of those doctors dismissed me. They told me I was normal. I was fine. It's all in my head. Eat less and exercise more. Like total medical gaslighting. Before we even knew what the term medical gaslighting was, I experienced it. It wasn't until the 7th doctor actually touched my throat and said, swallow. She's like, oh, I'm feeling something in there. Yeah, your labs show that you have hypothyroidism. I'm going to give you this pill. So I was pumped up, right? Because I had an answer now. I had a name for what was going on with me, and I had a pill that was supposed to fix me. So I took that pill, which was T4, Levo, Synthroid. Took it for 5 months. It did absolutely nothing. Started doing some more research on all the different thyroid hormones out there. And it turns out, oh, look, T4 is inactive and T3 is active. And wait, why am I on T4 only? So I'm back to her with this conversation and with this information. Of course, doctors love when you doctor Google, right? And you bring information to them. But I did. And I said, what about like these other thyroid hormones? She goes, well, I don't do that. That's not standard of care. And I said, well, I'm going to find somebody who does. So I kept hearing the name of this functional medicine provider. So if any of your listeners have like heard about me or heard about Jodi or heard about other practitioners multiple times, listen, it's the universe, right? So I kept hearing the name of this functional provider and I finally went to him and he saved my life. Like he did everything. He did all the tests, full book of testing. He sat down with me for 90 minutes, not a 5 to 7 minute visit that I was getting with all the other doctors. He sat down with me for 90 minutes. We got on the right thyroid hormone protocol and I got my life back. The weight came off, all the things. And at that point in time, like, I was in a major medical system and I should have been treated with, these are the top doctors of all time. And I was still dismissed and misdiagnosed 6 different times. So that was the point that I changed careers. I studied under him. He became my mentor. And I got into this world of knowing that I needed to help other people that were going through the same thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And let's talk a little bit about like standard blood work and some of the myths and the misdiagnoses of the thyroid. What is conventional medicine looking for and what should they be looking for?
Yeah, unfortunately, they only test TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. That's a pituitary hormone. It's a brain hormone. It is not a thyroid hormone. And they stop there. So doctors are taught in med school, listen, you test TSH, and if TSH is above a 4.5, which is the standard lab value range upper limit cutoff right now for TSH. So if that patient gets that little H next to their TSH, it's marked in red, it's flagged high, then you give them T4 and you pat them on the back and send them out the door and wish them luck, and we'll see you in 6 months to retest. And that is it. That is standard of care. And literally, I mean, I think it's maybe an hour long, class in med school. Seriously, I mean, they're missing the mark. And I gave a talk to a group of integrative wellness physicians years ago. They were transitioning from the conventional side, opening up an integrative practice. And I was talking about this testing and why don't we test reverse T3? Why don't we test free T3? There's all these other lab markers that give us so much information about the thyroid. And then I also went over here and said, why are you also in the T4 only box? Because that's what I was given. I was just given one pill, right? That's standard of care. And the one doc raises his hand and goes, that's all we've learned. So literally that's all they're learning, when there's so much more information that we need to test for to get that full picture of the thyroid function. So we need to look at your free T4. We need to look at your free T3. We need to look at your reverse T3. We need to check your 2 antibodies to see if you have Hashimoto's. So we need to look at that full entire picture.
No, I completely agree. And even, and can you talk a little bit more about some of the other myths and what we're seeing, in the thyroid culture, and the fact you talked about medical gaslighting.
Yeah.
I think they put people on antidepressants when it's really thyroid.
Girl, absolutely. So yeah, then there's the whole Band-Aid approach of conventional medicine. So I said, okay, first we start with test TSH. If TSH is elevated, then we give you T4. Well, what if you were in my shoes and you're like, well, wait, I have weight gain and fatigue and hair loss and constipation and brain fog, but you're telling me that everything is fine and it's normal. How is that possible? Well, then they go, well, oh, you're right. You have these symptoms. Here's an antidepressant, and here's a sleeping pill, and here's an anxiety medication, right? And they're just band-aiding, or here's some birth control. That's a great one too. Like, let's put a 40-year-old woman on birth control. That'll solve all her problems. So let's band-aid these symptoms instead of actually getting to what is causing those symptoms. And
let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about testing. So we have to go back to testing the thyroid to get that full picture. Now, I love hormones too. I love testing all of our sex hormones in conjunction with a full thyroid panel so we can really get that picture laid out for a person as to and explain to them, this is why you're feeling this way. Look, over here, your reverse T3 is high. It's putting your body in survival mode. You don't have enough of this active thyroid hormone T3. That's lowering your metabolism. Let's look at your hormones over here. Those play a role. You have no estrogen. Your bones are brittle because of it. You need progesterone to sleep. You need progesterone for anxiety. That's way better than an anti-anxiety benzo. So it's about looking at that whole picture. Now, the other kind of myth that I talked about in that integrative wellness talk to these docs, like I mentioned, I said, why are you in the synthroid box? So what do I mean by that?
Yes.
So like I said, I was given T4 only, and I'll expand on this. T4 is the inactive thyroid hormone. So your thyroid gland makes T4 and T3. T4 is inactive. T3 is active. So when we look at every single cell in your body, the thyroid is the master gland. So when we look at every single cell, every organ, every system in your body, there's a receptor site on each and every cell for T3. So it's kind of like a lock and key. Like your cell has the lock, T3 is the key. We need that perfect fit to turn that lock, to turn on your metabolism, to turn on your energy, to grow your hair. If we don't have enough T3 in the system, we don't have enough T3 for every single cell, every single organ, every single system in your body. When we give someone T4, the whole thought process is that the body will convert this inactive thyroid hormone to the active thyroid hormone. But that process of conversion, I always joke, I always say it's like running 10 Tough Mudders. it's really hard for your body to do.
It requires energy when you have none.
Well, it requires energy when you have none. You better
Yeah.
have perfect insulin control, no estrogen dominance. You better be taking your vitamin D and your iodine, your magnesium, your selenium. And God forbid you have a genetic SNP that interferes with conversion like I do. So there's a lot of things that can get in the way of transforming that inactive thyroid hormone to active. And here's where the problem lies. We're giving people T4 only. And we're crossing our fingers and wishing on a rainbow that their bodies are in perfect shape to convert this inactive thyroid hormone to active. And what I said to these doctors in that talk, I said, someone will come in with depression. You'll give them 3 different antidepressants till you find one that works. You'll combine one, you'll throw on a benzo, but you won't give more than one thyroid medication. That's ridiculous. There are so many different thyroid hormone replacement therapies that we can use. Yes, there is T4. There is also T3 in the form of liothyronine and cytomel. There's combined T4 and T3 in the form of natural desiccated thyroid. We can compound T4 and T3 together. We can do so many different things to get you to that optimized state, to nuance and personalize your treatment, that it should never, ever be a one-size-fits-all situation.
And if it's Hashimoto's, is there a different formula that we look at?
No, there's not a different treatment plan. Like at the end of the day, we want to reduce or completely eradicate your symptoms, and we want to get your numbers to the optimal range, not just the standard lab value range that you see on the side of your lab, but we go by the functional medicine optimal range. That's where we want to get your labs. That can be that can look any way. That can be any combination whatsoever. But the bottom line is we want to get you to that optimized state. With Hashimoto's, it's just knowledge for us. So 95% of all hypothyroidism, hypo, low and slow thyroid function, 95% is Hashimoto's. So just even knowing that, we go, okay, well, you have to be gluten-free, right? Because gluten will trigger an autoimmune response in Hashimoto's. Gluten actually looks like the thyroid gland. So we will, tell people, okay, you got to go gluten-free. I love adding in black cumin seed oil. That lowers antibodies as well, just reducing inflammation, supporting the immune system so that no further damage is done to the thyroid. And ultimately, we want to reduce those antibodies to 0. But it doesn't change our treatment over here of getting your numbers and you optimized.
Amazing. And I know you created Thyroid Fixer. Can you kind of talk about what's in that? Like for people that are listening that are like, ooh, I'm on Synthroid. I'm not sure that it's I don't even know if it's working. What can I do better?
Yes. Oh my gosh. If you are on T4 only, so I'm going to give you a quick stat before I dive into it. If you're on T4 only works in 2% of the population with hypothyroidism. And even that study or that stat that was given, they used the term do well with, which cracks me up. So 2% do well with T4 only. Well, do well is very subjective. You could have somebody that is 50 pounds overweight and fatigued, and that's their norm. So they go, yeah, I'm all right. I'm doing fine on my T4 only. I actually sat next to a woman on a plane that was exactly this scenario. We started talking thyroid and all that. She was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm on T4 only. And I'm thinking, I'm like, she's got like see-through hair, like it's super thin and falling out. She's easily like 40, 50 pounds overweight. I'm like, well, if that's fine. If that's your feeling good, normal. But I often question, do you even know what good feels like? So 98% of us need T4 and T3 or T3 only. So if you're on T4 only, listen, you need to add in T2. So T2 is one of the active thyroid hormones that our thyroid gland produces. And you don't have to beg your doctor for it. It is not in pharmaceutical form. And it is T2 that I put into Thyroid Fixer and Metabolism Fixer. So what T2 does is it increases our basal metabolic rate, our baseline metabolism, the amount of fat that we're burning at rest. It increases that, and it actually works at the mitochondrial level to produce more ATP. So your mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. ATP gives us energy through the day. So if you are fatigued and you're dragging butt and you can't lose weight no matter what you do, and the weight keeps coming on, that's where you would add in T2, Thyroid Fixer, or you could add in Metabolism Fixer if you need a little bit of more of a metabolic boost, a little bit more food noise control. And that will absolutely help you, especially if you're on T4 only. I mean, you can use it whether you have a thyroid problem or not, even if you just need to lose weight and you're really kind of battling that battle of the bulge. But if you are on T4 only, I encourage you to add that in.
Interesting. How did you figure that one out, the T2?
15 years of study, 15 years. So about 15 years ago,
Right.
it was out in, like the bro science products out there that they're really geared toward the dudes in the gym and they have
Yeah.
like angry names to them. So it was in this bro science product, but I was using it myself and then I started using it on patients. And I was just like, just trust me, like it works. I know it has an angry label. It's okay. And I kept seeing it work. So I dove deep into all the studies. The big long name for T2 is 3,5-diodo L-thyronine. So I started diving into the studies on it, seeing that, oh my gosh, it increased thermogenesis and fat burning even in euthyroid states, meaning a healthy thyroid. So that's why I said, even if you just need to lose weight, you can take this. It has no cardiovascular effect. We saw an average of a 9-pound weight loss in 28 days when it's used at that 150 to 300 microgram dosing. We
Which
saw
how many pills if people go out and buy a thyroid fixer? How
so
many?
thyroid fixer, 2 pills is 150. So
Okay.
sometimes people will stack thyroid fixer and metabolism fixer together to equal
Right.
to 300, but you really only need the 150. The 150 does a tremendous amount of metabolism boosting, honestly. And it produces steady energy through the day. So it doesn't give you that like caffeinated, amped up, feeling like, oh, my heart's going to pound out of my chest. It's not that at all. It's just this nice, steady ATP energy through the day with no cardiovascular effect. And here's the key, no thyromimetic effect. So, what do I mean by that? So, when we take a thyroid medication, you're taking T3, you're taking natural desiccated thyroid, you're getting it compounded. What we're going to see in your labs is your TSH will go down and then your free T3 or free T4 would or should go up in a perfect world. So we're going to see a change in your thyroid labs. With T2, we're not going to see that. There is no test for T2, not in the general population, only in studies. And it's not going to affect your TSH. And why this is important is because the last thing you want is to be taking something where your doctor then goes, oh my God, Jodi, you're hyperthyroid. That thyroid medication that you're on, just stop it. And you're like, wait, it's making me feel better. You're like, no, just stop it. You're hyper now. So we don't want something that's going to shift our labs where our doctor is going to be confused.
Right, right.
We just want something to help us with our metabolism and get us out of this low energy state. And that's where T2 just does a beautiful job because it doesn't affect thyroid labs.
Where is it sourced from? Is it from plants or from thyroid glands, or how do you get that?
The original source was thyroid gland because when we look at natural desiccated thyroid, there is T2 in it. So
Hmm.
in like a 60 milligram tablet of, let's say, Armour thyroid,
Right.
we approximate about 9 micrograms of T2 in it. So it is naturally occurring. So that was the original source. But
Right.
then they figured out, just like we just like with T3 and T4, like Cytomel or Synthroid, right? They're term synthetic. I hate that term. I call them biosynth because they are biologically identical to the T3 and the T4 that your body makes. Like I'm on T3 only of liothyronine and it has optimized me. I've been optimized for 15, 20 years now. So it's biologically identical to what the T3 is in my body that is made by my body. Same thing with T2. We started to have to actually manufacture it to synthesize and be bioidentical to what our body makes, but we need to use a higher dose. So just like my T3 dosing is much higher than what my own thyroid gland would normally produce, but that's what I need to fuel all of my cells. That is my happy dose. So same thing with T2. In order to get that effect on the body, we had to synthesize it to make it identical to the T2 that your body makes.
No, it's really interesting. I don't even think you can get Armour thyroid anymore, can you?
You can get Armor. The one that they pulled is Nature-Throid years
Oh,
ago. People complained about it because a lot of people did really well on Nature-Throid.
yeah, no, that's called, yeah, can't get that anymore. Um, is there anything that we haven't talked about? You mentioned like going gluten-free, which I think is a must. You
Mhm.
mentioned be careful on just Synthroid. You mentioned the thyroid fixer. Are there other things that obviously there are other hormones that interplay with the thyroid. What else should people look for if they're like, I'm ready to finally not just be well, but thrive?
Yeah, exactly. So well, there's two things. One thing comes up in my mind for the thyroid. In addition to getting properly tested, in addition to getting proper treatment, obviously supporting your body with nutrients, adding in the T2, the one really controversial topic in our world is iodine. And I'm interested to see where you fall on this as well. But for me, iodine, I love it. I don't avoid it. I don't tell my people to avoid it. I actually tell them to add it in because I go by science with iodine. So it is antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It helps the thyroid. We need iodine to produce T4 and T3 in our thyroid gland. We need iodine to convert that inactive thyroid hormone to active. One of the biggest causes of elevated reverse T3, where our body goes into survival mode, is low iodine. So we need it. The other really interesting component with iodine is, we live in such a toxic, burdened world where we're exposed to so many things. So there's chlorine in our water, there's fluoride in our water. If you're still brushing with fluoride toothpaste, for goodness sake, stop. And then bromide is literally everywhere. Our clothing, our rugs, our carpeting, grass. If you live by a golf course, you're being exposed to bromide all the time. Well, those three halides, so look at it, go back to science class, look at that periodic table. We have bromide, chloride, fluoride, all next to iodine, or chlorine, bromine, fluorine next to iodine. So those toxic halides will attach to the receptor site on your cell unless there is enough iodine. So we have fluoride is hugely toxic to the thyroid. I mean, you brush your teeth and your thyroid gland is right here, hugely toxic. Chlorine and bromide also very, very toxic to our whole body, let alone our thyroid. So in order to detox from these halides, we have to have iodine. If there is not enough iodine in the system, those toxic halides attach to the cell. Iodine comes in and basically pushes them out. It's like, dudes, come on, you got to leave. This is my space. So iodine is the only thing that will allow us to detox from those toxic halides. So I think that is vitally important.
Is, is
What is
that
your
in
take on
thyroid?
iodine?
Well, it tipped me into, okay, so I mega dosed it, which I probably shouldn't have. Like everything in moderation, right? And it
Right.
actually tipped me into Hashimoto's. So, moderation, I guess, is probably better. Is that in the thyroid fixer? Is iodine
No,
in?
no, I actually have an iodine fixer that we just released last week.
Yeah, I haven't. I
Yeah.
wondered because I read both sides and I wasn't really sure where I landed.
Well, I think you did exactly. So what you did is what gives iodine a bad name. You think
Exactly.
that more is better. And iodine is a low and slow titration.
Yeah.
Literally just starting with one drop and a little bit of water, and then you go up
No,
to
it was a
two.
practitioner that like pushed too hard too fast.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And that's what I talk about when I say that when iodine got a bad rep, it was from practitioners telling people to start too high of a dose.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I did that one wrong.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I haven't asked you that you'd like to share?
Oh, goodness. No, you've been a beautiful, amazing host. I think we've covered a lot, but I would say one thing we can give your people, well, two things. Number one, I want to give them hope because you got to have hope to keep going. So even if you are in the muck and you're feeling crappy and you have all of the symptoms and no one is listening to you and no one is helping you and you've seen two, three, six doctors like I have, you got to keep going because someone does have the answer. Now you can always reach out to us. We prescribe to all 50 states all day long. We got you covered, but do not give up. Do not give up at all. You have to have that hope that things can change. There is such thing as optimization land. I invite everyone to be there. Optimization land is a place where you're not gaining weight looking sideways at a brownie. You actually want to go out and have fun with your partner or your friends. You're not tired all day long. You're not living on coffee and Red Bulls. You're not counting the hairs that fall out of your head. It's a wonderful place, right? You can even have like a glass of wine once in a while or a gluten-free pizza and you don't gain weight. So it's a great place. So you can get there. You got to have hope. And one thing I want to give out to your audience too is this really, really cool tool that I've been building for about a year. One of the biggest questions that we get is, will you read my labs? Will you interpret my labs? And so I wanted to build a platform where people could go in with the labs that they have. And even if you don't have all of them, you're going to be going through this platform and seeing, oh man, I don't have free T3 yet. I need to get that. I don't have reverse T3. I need to get that drawn. But as you move through this interactive tool and put in what your lab value is, it's going to give you immediate feedback as to what that means. So that's at dramie.com/labs. So it's DRAMIE.com/LABS. But that is a super cool tool that anyone can use to really know what their labs mean. And we have thyroid in there. We have the blood sugar, like insulin, glucose, and A1C. And then we also have the hormones for men and women.
No, I love that. And the other thing that's interesting, you kind of mentioned the, we're an aquarium. And so the terrain of the neck, I've been playing a lot with lymph drainage and fascia release, and that seems to really help my numbers too.
Well, you taught me that. You taught me that the essential oils that we can use,
Yeah.
On our necks, and like you said, the fascia, the lymph. I'm just now diving into lymph and the importance of that and the flow. Oh my gosh, there's so much that you could even teach me when it comes to the
Well, I
oils and
think
thyroid.
I think everything's a synergy, right? And so I think it's really important. Like I love the hope message. I love everything you've shared about the thyroids. I'm going to go grab my thyroid fixer and try this tea too. And then the terrain, I think it all goes together. It was so wonderful to see you, and thank you for everything you've shared. Share again, please, where people can find you.
Absolutely. So you can go to dramie.com, DRAMIE, and from there you can navigate to the store for Thyroid Fixer. You can book a free call if you're interested in working with us. You'll find the Thyroid Fixer podcast on there and that lab platform that we built out too.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jodi. It's been a pleasure being here.